Alright, we have just gotten done talking about the unit circle and introducing it to you all. This is the initial concept that needs to be practiced after you've learned a little bit about the unit circle, and it's called finding the reference angle. I am going to do number 1 and probably number 3. In order to find the reference angle, I have to first know where the reference angle, know a little bit about, I guess, the reference angle itself. Reference angles. So please take these notes as you're watching. Reference angles. First thing, they exist in quadrant number 1. That means they exist between 0 degrees and 90 degrees. Any angle on a unit circle has a reference angle. Alright? That's the main thing you need to know. So quadrant 1, I will highlight in yellow. We talked about this briefly just a little bit ago. Is that one. The first one, quadrant 1. And I will label it. So any reference angle will exist in quadrant 1. If you notice, like if you look at number 4, the given angle, the angle drawn in blue, is already in quadrant 1. So when you do the first step in finding reference angles, that will be the only thing you have to do because it's already in quadrant 1. Otherwise, it's a two-step process. The first step I will write in red in order to find the reference angle. The first step is to understand that the beginning part of this, I guess you can say, is that the unit circle exists from 0 degrees to 360 degrees. I need to get any given angle, which in this case they gave me -100, and they went clockwise, which means they're moving in the negative direction. We tend to use counterclockwise to do positive. I need to get that in between 0 degrees and 360. One revolution of a unit circle we talked about is 360 degrees in the counterclockwise direction. So I need to get -100 into that section. So if I do -100, and this is what I would do if I was approaching this. I see that it's negative, so that means in order to get it to be above 0, I need to add something to it. I add what's called one revolution, and this is, I guess, the second piece of notes you would put up here. One revolution, I'll put rev for short, or revolution, I guess. Revolution equals 360 degrees. One time around the unit circle is 360 degrees. So that means if it's negative, I need to add revolutions to it until it exists between 0 and 360. So if you look at, again, number 4, -690, chances are I'm going to have to add 360 at least 2 times to that. In this case, though, for -100, if I put a 360 below it and add it, that's going to give me 260. So that is my first step. Step number 1. Finding or being able to bring the given angle into the range of 0 to 360 on the unit circle. That's my first step. In this case, I am not done because, again, reference angles exist in quadrant 1. So in that case, I need to get it to quadrant 1. There's a couple different ways you can do it. If you are a visual thinker, then you can just mirror it. What I mean by that, I will draw in, let's say red. Okay, given angle blue, the blue angle right here. I need to draw its mirror image in quadrant 1, which exists something like that. Alright? I just flipped it over the x-axis. Technically, I flipped it over the x and I flipped it over the y. Now, I know a landmark angle down here is 270. It looks to be that 260, which we found in the positive direction. So if I were to draw this in the positive direction, like that, That's 260 as well. So 260 and negative 100 are the same angle, just in different directions. I know it's kind of hard to understand. 260 though is 10 away from 70. So once I drew my mirrored image angle in quadrant 1, I also know that this, the vertical, the y-axis is at the basement of it is 270, the vertical part is 90. I know that my mirror image has to be 10 away from that. And so 90 minus 10, because it's going below 90, would be 80. So in this case, the reference angle, I'll write right here, would be 80 degrees. Another way to think about that is I'm going to hand you a chart as well that says if your angle that you found right here exists in a specific location. In this case, this one exists in quadrant 3. If it exists in quadrant 3, then the rule is that you have to subtract 180 from it to get it to quadrant 1. And that will give me my same answer. 260 minus 180 is 80 degrees. And you just reference that sheet that I gave you. So, number 1, the reference angle is 80 degrees. Let's try from that video, see if you can do other ones. If you have questions, please ask.